Hello, everyone. Today we are going live with Lisa Wang, Associate Director, Full-Time MBA Admissions at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. We are just going to wait for a couple of minutes for everybody to join, and then we'll take this forward. I'm going to give it another 60 seconds before I start. Right. Hello, everyone, once again. Today we are going live with Lisa Wang, Associate Director, Full-Time MBA Admissions at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. But before we get there, let's quickly walk you through who we are. We are the Red Pen. We are admissions consultants, and we've got over 14 years of experience in education counseling. We have 1,000+ admits to top universities across the globe, and we've helped 6,000+ applicants. We have a team of over 100 members across 9 nationalities, and we have several professional memberships and affiliations for MBA admissions, the most important being AGAC. At the Red Pen, we offer a gamut of services that include the undergraduate preparation service and the undergraduate, postgraduate, MBA, boarding, and day school admissions counseling, along with career counseling. Let me introduce you to our guest today. We have with us Lisa Wang, and as I mentioned earlier, the Associate Director, Full-Time MBA Admissions at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. She has been in higher education for over 11 years. Before joining Ross, she was stationed at Beijing, where she worked with a top business program and led their strategy and recruitment. While overseas, she also did her MBA and worked with a biotech startup before returning to her passion, which is admissions. Outside of work, she is passionate about yoga, about experimenting with food, traveling, kickboxing, and spending time with her son, Nathan. I'm your co-host today. I'm Anju Goyala. I'm a senior consultant with the MBA admissions team at the Red Pen. I have been with them in admissions, MBA admissions counseling for close to 9 years. Now, before I hand this over to Lisa, I'm just going to give you a few fun facts about Michigan, the University of Michigan Ann Arbor campus. It is an enormous campus spread over 3,200 acres with over 500 buildings. It also houses the largest collection of research with over 12 million volumes. Michigan UMich also has the largest stadium in the United States of America and the second largest stadium in the world. So there is a focus on sports. It's not all work and no play. There's a lot of play involved. And Lisa, this is the year of the Paris Olympics, and I believe UMich has sent close to 324 athletes and coaches over 33 editions of the game. And it shows their commitment to sports and their long association with it. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Lisa, who's going to talk about the Ross Business Program, the culture at UMich, the ethos of the program, and the university, and the admissions process. At the end of the session, we will open the floor to Q&A. Please put your questions in the Q&A box, and Lisa will answer all of them. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for the wonderful introduction and those fun facts about Ross and U of M. Some of those, even I was like, oh, I didn't know that. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Like Andrew said, I'm Lisa Wang. I'm the Associate Director of Full-Time MBA Admissions here at Ross, and I'm really excited to share some more information about our program and application process with all of you. So let's get started. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of our program, I did want to just give you guys an overview of some of our key differentiators, as I'm sure you guys are all looking at multiple MBA programs to pursue in the US. So here at Ross, we are really an institution that is very much focused on action-based learning. We are a pioneer in this field, and we have more action-based learning opportunities than any other school out there. So if you are someone that learns great by doing, then this is definitely the environment for you. We also have 117 top-ranked graduate programs and 22 established dual degree programs at Ross and across the University of Michigan. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to really curate the curriculum to your interest. So you can specialize. We also have, I think, don't quote me, about 12 concentrations in addition to the 22 established dual degrees and all of these other wonderful graduate schools that you can learn from across the University of Michigan, giving you the flexibility again to really curate your MBA experience to your interests. And then we are also known as one of the most effective alumni networks out there. So we actually just updated this number like a week ago, but we are up to 682,000 living alumni across 179 countries in the world. And so this is one of the largest alumni networks out there. These alums have a very much pay it forward mentality, which means they love giving back to the Ross community, to the U of M community. And I hear over and over again from our prospective students and our current students that if they cold reach out to some of our alums on LinkedIn, you know, U of M is always one of the first ones to to respond back. And so again, just a great resource for you as you continue to build your professional network and build your own, I guess, circle of community wherever you are. In addition, we are ranked number 8 recently by Princeton Review for Best Career Prospects. Now, we know that an MBA is definitely not a small investment, and students are very much, you know, concerned about the ROI of their MBA. And so again and again, I think Ross has really proved that we are one of the best MBA programs in terms of ROI. So our median salary and bonus package is about $202,000 US dollars. And so you compare that to our tuition, to the cost of living in Ann Arbor, and to all of the scholarship and funding opportunities out there. This is really a very valuable MBA degree for all of you. And then lastly, I do want to mention that if you are not coming from a traditional MBA background, or a traditional business background, please don't worry, because 94% of our students are actually career changers. And so it could be that they're switching functions, they could be switching industries. Some of them don't have any experience in business prior to Ross. And so our program is very well designed to provide you with the structure and support that you would need to make this shift. So you are definitely not alone in this process. And then next up, I do want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that we are excited about. If I can get to the next page. There we go. So we have also been ranked recently as the number 5 best classroom experience, as well as the #4 best professors by the Princeton Review. And so again, what does this mean? It just means that in addition to coming to Ross and having all of these resources with all of these programs, action-based learning, you are learning from the best of the best. All of our professors are leaders in their respective fields. And again, this classroom experience is so important for you in your MBA program experience. And so rest assured that you are in good hands. And we have a very, very caring and large program office team here to support you too during the 2 years. Next, I'm also very excited. We are very excited about our new ESG concentration and product innovation program. So the ESG concentration was launched a couple of months ago. At the time of launch, we were actually one of the 2 business schools in the entire United States to offer an ESG concentration. So again, I think this really shows that we are innovative and ahead of the trend compared to a lot of other top business schools. And so this is a great option for you if you're interested in sustainability, social impact, and bring that to the company that you're working with and actually coming up with regulations and administering it. So this is a great concentration for you to pursue, especially if you don't have the time to pursue a full-on dual degree program with the Herb Institute. And then the product innovation program, this is actually housed within our Zell-Lurie Institute for Entrepreneurship, and it provides students with the opportunity to engage with alumni and product innovation process. So again, just something very creative for you to get your hands on and really, get that action-based learning opportunity. It can also be something you put on your resume. So that's the great thing about all of these. And then next, we are also continuously excited about the Healthcare Accelerator. This isn't necessarily something that's new at Ross. It's been around for a couple of years now. But, I think with COVID and the pandemic, I think everyone in the world is really, seeing how all the holes that we have within certain healthcare industries in certain countries. And so with the Healthcare Accelerator, what it does is that it provides grant funding and support from our experienced faculty and mentors who are actually entrepreneurs themselves to help students really realize their vision for reimagining healthcare. So, if you have an idea and you would like to launch this idea to address any major challenges that we're experiencing right now in healthcare, this is definitely something that you would want to take advantage of. And then lastly, I do want to share our career stats for the class of 2023 with you. 96% of our class of 2023 were able to get a job offer 3 months post-graduation. And so again, this is just showing you that despite the economy, despite the ups and downs, our career development office is well prepared to support you in landing that job. Most of our career coaches come from industry, so they were either recruiters for the companies that you're looking to work for, or they were actually, working in that industry prior. So they have a lot of knowledge on what's it like to, have coffee chats with people, let's say within the investment banking, space. What's it like to talk to someone from Amazon? What's the lingo that Amazon really likes to use? So a lot of these things may be small, but may really help you get that job or internship. And then moving on, now this is where I would like to get down to our signature program here at Ross, and it is the multidisciplinary action project, or MAP for short. And so hopefully all of you guys have heard about this. This is pretty famous at Ross. This was started back like 20 years ago. We were the first ones to ever have this type of consulting project for our MBA students. And then after that, a lot of other schools also picked this up. And so this is taken by all first-year MBAs at no additional cost. You do it in the spring, the winter A and spring semester, which is kind of the second semester of your first year. And you'll be working full-time along with your fellow classmates to tackle a real business challenge for a sponsored company. A lot of our students call this the internship before their actual summer internship. So again, something great to put on your resume. Every year we have about 70 to 100 projects for students to choose from. And so It can be because you're just interested in marketing and you've never worked on marketing before and you want to do this project to step outside of your comfort zone. It could be that, you can choose it also based on where you want to go post MBA. You really want to do operations, that's where you want to go. And so you might want to choose a MAP project having to do with operations as well. But there are so many different types of projects ranging from the energy industry to like the beverage industry to like working with a soccer club in Barcelona. Yes, this is actually true. Our students flew over to Barcelona to work with the soccer club over there. And so after you rank kind of your choice from 1 to 10, then the company also takes a look at your resume, your background. Sometimes they also have criteria on the type of students that they would like for the project, whether it's, maybe they want you to have a finance background, maybe they want you to be bilingual in a certain language. So based on those nuances, you are then matched up with the company. And most of our students have always been able to get at least a top 4 choice. I have not heard of anyone that have complained about not getting one of their top choices. And then it's actually a very fun process. So in around November, I would say we have this huge map reveal day. And so that is actually when well, not November, maybe it's Yes, November. It's a map reveal day. You go into the Winter Garden, which is the common space at Ross, and you are handed a number. And so this number, this is where you will go around looking for other classmates with this number, and that's how you find out who your teammates are and what project you'll be working on. Overall, it's just a great experience. This past year, we had over 100 map projects in 16 different countries. If you don't want to travel abroad, we also have a variety of domestic projects, virtual projects, and local projects to Michigan and Ann Arbor. So you definitely don't have to travel far if you don't want to. And again, our students have worked with the Tata Group, Mahindra, ICBC, ICICI Bank, Chevrolet, Amazon, JetBlue, Google, Microsoft. I mean, any company that, big company name you can think of, they probably sponsored a MAP project for us. All right, and then moving on, let's talk a little bit about career resources. So there's always this misconception that, hey, if you come to Ann Arbor, you're stuck here, it's a small town in the Midwest. Like, what can you do here? How can you recruit here when you're not in a big city? And I want to just say that is not a problem, right? Especially with how everything has moved to a virtual setting these days. A lot of our students are having coffee chats over Zoom. You don't necessarily have to be in New York to have a coffee chat or to get an internship offer, right? We also have a lot of recruiters come on campus from these companies to recruit our students. Now, with that said, our students are definitely not staying in Ann Arbor or the Detroit area after their MBA. As you can see on the slide, most of our students end up on one of the coasts. So 90% go over to the West Coast, 24 in the New York tri-state area, and then 23% in Chicago. And then we do have about 3 to 4% of our students working internationally every year. And our top employees, as you can see here, are Amazon, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Deloitte, et cetera, et cetera. And I know I shared this earlier, but I would like to say again that the average median salary package, including the bonus, is $202,000. So a great ROI on your investment. And what's special about Ross is that you have the experience to experience a 2-year MBA program in a community-based pay it forward culture, but still end up in your preferred metro region after graduation. So don't worry about being stuck here. And then I know I talked a little bit about the U of M alumni community, but now I want to pivot and talk a little bit about the Ross alumni community and the resources that you will have on hand as an alumni. So here at Ross, we have 58,000 plus living alumni across 107 countries. And our relationship with our alumni does not end when they graduate. And most of you, if you have been engaging with our community, you probably know this already. They're involved with many of our conferences. They're involved with all of our interviews. They come back as guest speakers. They come back as recruiters too. So very heavily involved with our current student community. In addition to that, as an alumni, you will be automatically enrolled in our Alumni Advantage program for the rest of your life. And so this gives you access to tuition-free executive education, again, for life. And for those of you who are not familiar with executive education, these are, week-long, maybe 3-4 day long, sometimes 2 week long courses that are specifically designed for, mid-level to higher level professionals within large companies. And so they can be on leadership, HR, emerging markets, finance. So it's basically a great way for you to continue learning down the road in any skill set that you feel like you need to improve. In addition to that, if you are hoping to start your own company after your MBA, because during your MBA it wasn't a great timing, you didn't have the resources and funding that you needed, or the idea maybe, but now you feel like 5 years out from your MBA, you're ready to launch your own business. You can always come back and leverage all of the entrepreneurial resources that we have within the Zell Lurie Institute, as well as we have entrepreneurial advising. And then, of course, if you ever feel like you would like to shift again in your career, pivot again in your career, or you're just looking for more help to help you find a next role, we have a dedicated alumni career coach here that you can leverage. And again, with our alumni community being so large and spread across the entire world, you're definitely able to find a job through that community alone. And then let's talk a little bit about Ann Arbor. So I know Andrew shared a little bit earlier about how, we've got a really great sports culture going on here. But also Ann Arbor is one of the most educated cities in America. It's also one of the best campus environments. And there's also a lot of other stats here. I'm not going to read them off, but it's a nice town, only about 20-30 minutes away from the Detroit airport. So very, very accessible to anywhere in the world. There's a Delta hub at the Detroit airport. So again, just very accessible. You can fly just about anywhere out of DTW. And I don't know about you guys, but I've lived in big cities like Beijing, Atlanta before, and I do not like traffic at all. I remember I used to have to wait in traffic for at least 1 to 2 hours just to get to the airport. And here it's only a 25-minute drive, no traffic at all. So a huge perk for those of you coming from big cities. In addition, Chicago is only 3-4 hours away. A lot of people also say that Ann Arbor is very artsy. We have a lot of art fairs, so that's definitely something for you to look into as well. But there's always something going on, whether it's concerts, art fairs, exhibitions. We also have great speakers coming into the University of Michigan all the time. So just a lot going on. It's definitely not a silent, boring town. And then now let's pivot over to our admissions process. So it's pretty much straightforward. We require you to either submit a test score, or you can submit the statement of academic readiness. We do not have a GMAT waiver or test score waiver process. The statement of academic readiness is embedded in your application. So when you apply, you either apply with a test score or you apply with the statement of academic readiness. In addition to that, since we are talking to international students, we do also require an English proficiency statement or an English test score. So that would be the TOEFL, IELTS, or PTE. And if you did do your undergrad institution, an accredited 4-year undergrad institution where the primary language of instruction was in English, you do not have to prove your English proficiency to us. And then next we require you to fill out our short answer essays. And as many of you know, we have completely revamped the essay questions and we are no longer asking the old questions. So our new questions are more focused on who we are at Ross. The part 1 is really just about how are you going to thrive in this action-based learning environment that we have here, and how do you plan to contribute to that? And then the second part is really focused on getting to know you outside of work. We want to know what drives you, because we are a community of leaders and impact makers. And so we want to see whether you fit into that culture. And so we have 4 prompts for you to choose from. Please only answer one. And so that's the second part. And then we also revamped our career, short-term career goal essay. So previously we just asked you, what's your short-term career goal? But now this year, we also want to know, how will Ross actually help you achieve it? So we do have a quick tip or like an essay tips video that you can check out later on, which I would drop into the link. And then we also just require one letter of recommendation. It's the standard GMAT form that will be sent to your choice of recommender. And then lastly, we require a resume, and all of our interviews are by invitation only. Here are our upcoming deadlines for the class of 2027. So we have September 9th as the deadline for round 1, January 6th for round 2, and March 24th for round 3. And so with that, this basically wraps up my overview of our program and application process. We can pivot now to Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Extremely informative. So many takeaways, the action-based learning, the paid forward, alumni, career changers, 94%, big number. And if I'm not mistaken, and if I've read that correctly, you pivoted from, you were pre-med and now you're in education. So yes, you did that pivot as well,
A lot of
post-ed.
pivots for me, for sure.
Yes. You spoke about the ESG and the healthcare concentrations, the MAP program, and of course, you did bust that myth about Ann Arbor being a small town. Really, at 3,500 acres, it's a township in itself. Okay. The salary really seems to be at par with any M7 school or any school, top 10 or 20 schools across the planet. I am going to question you on that community at Ross in a bit. That free executive education sounds extremely exciting. And the fact that Ross supports you way beyond your 2-year MBA program. I'm sure a lot of our applicants will be interested in the MBA fair and the fact that it is very accessible. And Chicago and Detroit are extremely accessible. We will go a little later into details of the academic readiness. And you mentioned, and thank you for talking about the changed essays. It's a big change. You've done this after 4 years. So, people are excited about it and maybe a little nervous as well. So thank you for touching on that. You mentioned anybody who's done a 4-year undergrad. Does it mean that you do not accept applicants who have a 3-year undergrad?
We do. This is just for the English proficiency part, is where if they completed an undergraduate degree, an accredited undergraduate degree where the primary language of instruction was English, then they don't have to submit a test score or a statement of English proficiency.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that because you mentioned 4 years, and in India, we do have a 3-year undergrad,
Yeah.
accredited undergrad. I'm going to ask you a few general questions before I plunge into the, participant questions. How would you describe the culture at Ross, and what makes the Ross community unique vis-a-vis other business schools?
Yes, so definitely the pay it forward collaborative mentality. Not only is it embedded into our current student community, but also within our alumni community. So very much, hey, I'm not just taking, right? I'm also giving back. What can I bring to the table? And that's why you can see our new essays really aligns with that culture. So we're looking for people who can fit that culture. Very, very collaborative. And when I say collaborative, I don't mean it like, oh yeah, we're collaborative. It's cliche. Like you see students coming out of interviews and then telling the next student, the next Ross student, hey, I just messed up. Don't do this, don't do that, giving tips right away. We actually have a fact group at Ross. It's called the Functional Accountability Career Teams. These are led by our MBA 2s. And so they are literally, coaching and teaching these incoming MBA 1s from their experience the past year on how to, do coffee chats, how to update your resume, how to, talk to these recruiters. What are some industry trends? They invite alumni to come back and speak to, the current MBA ones about the hiring process. They invite industry leaders to come speak. And so we have about like 12 of these for each function that you're interested in. And then we also have a niche recruiting fact group. And that's in addition to all of the resources that you're getting from the CDO office. And then in addition to that, just our students are, again, they're impact makers, they're leaders. So we really want students who have a very who have a lens of doing business for the good, right? Making a positive impact in the world through business. So I would say that's definitely embedded into our curriculum, into our culture. It's something that students start experiencing even when they're prospective students in the application process. Now, in terms of what makes this community very unique too, is the fact that, again, our students have told me this, it's the fact that not everyone, just about 90, I would say 95% of our cohort is not local to Michigan, right? So think about if you're studying in New York or San Francisco or Atlanta, a lot of those students, they might have lived there for many years. They already have their professional network. They already know the city. They already have their community of friends. So they might not be as engaged with the MBA community when they're doing their MBA. But here, everyone is coming from everywhere and anywhere, right? Most of the students are not from Ann Arbor or Michigan or nearby. So they're all experiencing Ann Arbor at the same time. And that's what makes it so unique, because the bond that you create when you're experiencing something new for the same time with your cohort, it's very, very strong. And so students, when they go off to like the big cities to do their internships, I'm always like, how's Seattle? How's New York? How are you liking your internship? And they'll always say, I love it, but I can't wait to come back to Ann Arbor. And it's because they miss the community, they miss the friends, they miss the bonds that they've built. So that's what I would say is very unique about us.
If I were to sum that up, you do look for engaged community citizens, and you have the kind of environment where you have a big school, but a close-knit community, which makes it, which gives it the feel of of a small, compact school within the large, community group. Right. Would you have any specific advice for Indian applicants, to make their applications stand out, especially candidates who come from overrepresented categories? For instance, the Indian male engineer who is into consulting or finance.
Yes, so we get this question a lot from our Indian applicants. And honestly, I would say be authentic is the first and foremost very important part of your application, right? Don't make up something just to stand out. Be genuine and authentic. And then I would say to focus maybe less, not less. So we already know about your professional achievements. We know you have this amazing undergraduate or master's degree background in engineering. We want to know what makes you stand out as a person too. So focus on, the second essay question. What are you involved with in your community? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do? Share more of those aspects with us so that we can really gauge who you are and what makes you special, right? Yes, there are plenty of Indian males with engineering backgrounds, but are they master chefs, right? Are they doing 5 TED Talks? Did they climb Mount Everest? So those are things that can definitely make you stand out. And then in addition, just, whatever you're passionate about, that's also very different across the board for everyone too. Make sure to get that across in your essay, in your application. So yeah, even though you can't stand out with your undergraduate degree and other aspects, there are definitely different parts of the application that you can use to your advantage to stand out in that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I see that the second essay question speaks to that.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any common mistakes or misconceptions that applicants from India have, or they should avoid?
Common mistakes from Indian applicants. I would say it's probably, again, it's not with just Indian applicants. I would say it's across the board, which is why we changed the essays. But we were getting way too many generic essays. So again, make sure that your essay is specific and unique and genuine. If it's too generic, then you're not standing out at all. You're not helping your case. And again, to make sure to have a good balance between sharing your professional, achievements as well as your personal side. Because we're already looking at your professional side from your letter of recommendation and your resume, right? We want to know more. Use different examples. So I don't want to hear you talk about this one project in your interview and in your essays, and you're highlighting it, in your resume, and your boss also talked about it in the letter of recommendation. It's very one-dimensional. So make sure you have multiple examples of different achievements. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take a few questions from the participants. From the perspective of the university, how do you all see round one and round two admissions, apart from the obvious thought of student convenience in applying based on their readiness to apply? What is the other reason for having different rounds for admission? Earlier, you applied earlier, the chances of getting an admits. Okay, so I guess what they're asking is that, I mean, if you do you stand a better chance if you apply in round one than in subsequent rounds?
Absolutely not.
And
So
they're saying a few people apply in round one. I'm not sure about that,
So I want to start off by saying that our advice to everyone and anyone is to apply when your application is at its best, when you are ready to apply. So if your application is ready, if you've been preparing for the GMAT, and you've got that score that you want, or maybe you decide to go with the statement of academic readiness, whenever you feel like you are putting your best foot forward, that's when you should apply. So it can be round one, round two, or round three. There's absolutely no leverage that you have by applying in a round one if your application is not ready. If you have a strong application, even if you apply in round three, you can get a full tuition scholarship if you're that competitive, right? Even in round three. So it's not about which round you apply, it's really about putting your best foot forward. I will say though, for international students, especially students who are coming from countries where there have been a pattern of a hinder to get a visa, I would say to apply before round three, just because to leave yourself time for visa processing. But other than that, there's absolutely no advantage for you to apply in round one versus round three if you're not ready.
Someone is asking, how does one get an application fee waiver?
So by attending one of our events, you are able to get the application fee waiver, and everyone who is here today, Andrew will give me a list and you guys will all be waived of the application fee as well.
There you go. The advantages of attending this session, you get an application fee waiver. Right. Akshay Goel from India has a question. He is planning to apply in the upcoming round one deadline, but he's not very sure about the specialization he wants to pursue. Does he need to mention it in the SOP? He means in the essays or the application, or at any place in the application? Or is it okay not to mention, anything?
So the concentration or the specialization is not a requirement, it's just an option. So you do not need to mention it at all unless that's something that you are very passionate about. And that's one of the reasons why you applied to Ross. So again, it depends on you and what you are genuinely interested in. I mean, I wouldn't list, I guess I would say definitely mention it if it's something that you're passionate about, but I would avoid listing a list of classes and specializations that you want to pursue for the sake of looking like you've done your research. We want more specific examples as to why it is you like this concentration, right? So think about it from that sense. And if you don't have a concentration, that's fine. Students don't have to choose that until they begin the program anyway, so you have plenty of time.
Agree with that. Somebody's asking, can we apply with a 3-year undergrad degree? You've already answered that, so we won't get into that. Can this presentation be shared with us post the session, please, just for ease of reference? Lisa, we leave that up to you.
Yes, I can share a PDF version of the presentation and then, yes, I'll share it with
Okay.
you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Hardik Arora is asking for some more examples of the kind of business challenges students solve as part of the MAP program.
So we
I think
actually
you've covered that quite extensively, but yeah, maybe.
I did. So, but this is let me share a link with all of you. So our map projects are actually all publicized on our website. So you can actually go back. Um, so you can actually go on the website and look at all of our historic projects. Let me see if I can get that web link for you. Here you go. And you can actually search by function, by industry, just to see what they had previously. But too many examples for me to share directly. But again, like I remember this year, one of our teams is working with Alaska Airlines to come up with a marketing plan to engage more of the Gen Z travelers. So that's very interesting. And then, like I said earlier, one of our teams went to Barcelona to work with their soccer club. And then so many more. I mean, there are so many. They can be on consulting, I mean, not consulting, they can be helping with marketing strategy, they can be expanding their product abroad, it can be, related to anything and everything. So I definitely recommend checking out this website so that you can really take the time to look at what projects you might be interested in and what we had previously.
The link is mentioned in the chat. You spoke of Alaska Airlines, and I was thinking, I hope they're also telling them how to keep the door of the aircraft
Yes,
glued.
yes, we
Remember,
joked
it
about
blew
that.
up. Yeah, yeah, it
Oh
did.
my gosh. Yes,
Uh,
that's the first thing I said. I was like, oh, you're going to be working with Alaska Airlines? Well, please tell them that first step to, engaging customers is to keep the door closed.
Close. Right. How valuable are social service volunteering activities when considering applications? I guess they're asking you how much accent do you put on it?
Very valuable, right? Again, that's the personal aspect. That's getting to know who you are as a person outside of your professional space. Are you someone that gives back? Do you fit that pay it forward culture that we have here? Or are you going to come to Ross and silo yourself and just take, 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 take? Are you going to be a good team player, right? So these are all things that we do look at and that can kind of give us insight into whether you have these traits.
Okay. Shlok is asking, do you have MIM or deferred MBA programs as well?
Yes, we have a MIM and multiple one-year master's programs. I do not work for that program office, so you'll have to go on their website to look at all the details. We currently do not have a deferred MBA program.
Sneha Pathak is asking, what are some common green or red flags you see in applications?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the red flags first because they're the easiest. But the easiest red flag is misspelled words. It's mentioning other school names in our application. It just indicates that you did not take our application very seriously. You were obviously, you know, using the same essays, the same, things in your other applications and just transferring it over regardless of whether it fit our application or not. And then again, not double, checking your application, not getting another friend or mentor or family member to read your essays. If it's full of grammatical errors and misspelled words, again, unprofessional, you weren't exactly ready, you didn't put in the effort. And then one of the other ones that people might not know about is, we really do prefer you to choose your direct supervisor for the letter of recommendation. Now, for whatever reason, it could be that you don't want to jeopardize your position and you need to use a previous direct supervisor or someone else. A lot of times students don't explain that. So we actually have 2 spots on the application for you to share why it is that you did not choose your current direct supervisor as your letter of recommender. So that to us, if you didn't even take the time to explain, is leaving us, right, to our imagination to wonder, oh, well, I wonder why. Is it because they don't have a good relationship? Is it because, difficult to work with? Like, you're leaving it up to our imagination, and that's not a good idea. It's better to address it and say, I didn't choose that person because of XYZ. And so you can either, like I said, there's 2 areas in the application where you can actually share that with us. And sometimes students forget about it, and it really just, it is not great, but it's definitely a red flag.
All
And
right.
then the green flags, I mean, a well-rounded application is kind of the exact opposite of what I just shared, right? It's very well prepared. You can tell right away they put thought into their essays, into preparing for the application. The essays were impactful. They provided additional insights into who they are professionally and personally outside of like all of the other areas, right? Like the resume and like their undergraduate degree, their transcripts. So it was providing us with additional information, which is really what we wanted. Another green flag is just, taking the time to explain small things too. Hey, I want to address why it is that, I had a D in undergrad in the biology class. I want to address why it is that I didn't choose my direct supervisor. Just taking the time to really think about, okay, what are some holes and gaps that I can explain? Again, it just shows that you've really put effort into putting your application forward and that you're taking this process seriously. So.
Yeah. In addition to that, if you've got a gap in your work experience, or if you've got, if you're not a good test taker and you don't have a, very strong score, but you can, demonstrate your ability to take the academic pressures and the rigor of the program elsewhere, all those things, I guess, come into play. Somebody, again, an anonymous attendee has asked, can you please talk about the STEM, MBA, and OPT? Look here, really, all major MBA programs are now STEM designated, and they give you a 3-year OPT. So we are not going to dwell on that. Is there any application fee waiver? Amit, I think Lisa has already answered that. You've attended this event, you get an application fee waiver. All right. What is the protocol to apply as a 3-year undergraduate degree? I don't think there is any difference. Lisa has already said, so long as it's an accredited degree, the process remains the same. Right. Now, this is something that I was going to ask you about anyways. Can you please elaborate on the statement of academic readiness? Who is eligible to, to apply for this? And at what point do you, in the process, do you submit the statement of academic readiness? Is it with the application or before you apply? How does this work?
Yeah, so we don't have a waiver process. So basically, you either apply with a test score or you apply with a statement of academic readiness, and it's embedded in the application itself. So it's not a separate process. So you would just fill it out as you're filling out your essays and like other parts of your application. And then basically anyone who feels like, hey, I don't want to take the test. I don't feel like, for whatever reason that you have for not wanting to take the test, you can apply with the statement of academic readiness. So what are we really looking for? We're looking for specific concrete examples that will indicate to us that you will be successful in a Ross classroom upon entering the program. So that can be a very strong undergraduate degree in a STEM or science or a quant background, right? Or a business background. And then also work experience that are related to that. It can be you have a CPA, CFA certification and work experience that ties into that. So your statement of academic readiness can't be one-dimensional. It can't just be, oh, I had an accounting degree in my undergrad. That's not enough. We want to see that not only do you have an accounting degree, you have a very strong professional experience in that area. It could also be, you've had 10 years of work experience in the finance industry, right? So that is something that is going to prepare you for the quant courses that we have here in the curriculum. So again, multidimensional. Make sure that you are being specific with your examples that you're writing in your statement. You can also use a not expired executive assessment score as well to indicate that you are ready. But it can't just be, I got an EA score of whatever. It has to be something else in addition to that. So.
Yeah, thank you. That was very useful. There are a few questions around the GMAT, so I'm just going to club them together and ask some of you. As you mentioned earlier, you accept a variety of tests. You accept the GMAT, GRE, MCAT, LSAT. Do you have a preference of one over the other?
There is absolutely no preference. It's up to you. on what you feel like will represent you the best, or what you feel like you'll excel in, right? It could be the GRE that you do better in. It could be the GMAT. There's absolutely no preference.
Right. There's a lot of nervousness about the new GMAT edition. There is no historical data. Applicants do not have a point of reference. If I may ask you, what kind of scores are you looking at from the Indian applicant pool? Now, that tends to be a highly competitive pool.
Yeah, so I will say, just like you guys don't have any historical information, the schools don't either. Because they really rolled this out in the middle of our cycle last year, right? After we already completed round one, it was in January, and they were like, okay, we've got this new test. And so we really haven't had a full cycle to really evaluate only the GMAT focus and how it compares to the old GMAT. And so what we have been doing is just using the conversion chart that GMAT shared with us to convert the new score to the old score and compare it that way. And so this will be our first year, right, moving forward to really see that most of the scores that come in are GMAT focused. I mean, you can still submit an old GMAT, traditional GMAT score that's not expired, but we do anticipate that most of the scores this year will be the GMAT focus. And as of right now, we are still going to do a side-by-side comparison, so converting that to the old one just to see. And our average GMAT, traditional GMAT score is about 719. And so for Indian students, I would say 720, 730 is probably kind of the norm that we see a lot with Indian students. Again, though, that's just an average, right? We do have students coming in with like 690 to 750. So it's a very, very big range. And then for GRE, it's about 160, I would say 67, 66 for the quants that we're looking for Indian students. Yeah, so I will say though, don't focus too much only on the test score. Just because you have a 750 or you're in the 90th percentile doesn't mean you're going to be accepted, right? We look at the application on a holistic basis. The test score is just one area of your application. So really don't stress yourselves out too much on this one area. Really make sure that you're building an overall strong application.
Okay. Right. So if candidates are submitting the application with the statement of academic readiness, does it impact their job prospects?
It doesn't. So typically, companies are not looking at your test score when they hire. Now, I have heard that some consulting companies do take a look at your GMAT score, but I have never heard of anyone not getting an internship or job due to not having a test score or because of a low test score. So again, I don't think it would harm you. But I will give out a stat here is that 80% of our students do come in with a test score of some kind, and then 20% come in with a statement of academic readiness.
Right. If a candidate is waitlisted, do they submit a score to strengthen their candidacy? If they haven't,
Yes.
done so already. I mean, as in they've.
So it can. So it really, again, you have to do some self-reflection for waitlisted candidates because we don't provide direct feedback. But definitely, if you are waitlisted and you didn't have a test score when you were waitlisted, taking the test score could be a big help for you.
Right. There are a few questions around. Okay, so there is Pranav Balani who is asking, what if somebody has a sales and marketing experience in their career with a marketing degree in undergrad? Can we still apply with a statement of academic readiness?
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
So
you.
again, the statement of academic readiness, anyone can apply with one. It's up to you. It's not for me to tell you whether you can or not. You have to do that self-reflection and think what is going to be the best for your application. If you're just a horrible test taker and you know you're not going to get a competitive score, then the statement of academic readiness might be your best option. But if you feel like, hey, I think I can get a very competitive test score, then maybe, that's the better route. So you really have to do some self-reflection and decide which path is the better for you.
Great. Vagish Garg is asking, what are the opportunities or support system at Ross for someone who's trying to start their own venture? Now, this is an interesting question because I had that as one of the questions that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on this earlier. So we have a Zell-Lori Center for Entrepreneurship or Zell-Lori Institute for Entrepreneurship here at Ross. In addition to that, we also have a Center for Entrepreneurship hub within the University of Michigan that is housed at the College of Engineering. So there are so many resources, not just at Ross, but across the bigger University of Michigan, where you can really leverage, advising from entrepreneur mentors who have, 10 plus 15, 20 years of experience starting their own companies. And again, the Zell-Lori Institute, they offer mentorships, they offer grant funding. If you have an idea, they can meet with you to talk about it, right? Is this idea possible? What adjustments do you need to make? If you're in the middle stage of your, like, if you already have a venture and you're like, hey, now I want to expand this to, like, outside of Chicago. Now I want to have it in San Francisco. I want to have it in Ann Arbor. There are also resources to help you think through the strategy, to develop a plan. What does that expansion look like? What will you need? And so many resources, so many resources. I would highly, let me drop the link for you. I would definitely recommend you check out their website.
These
And
links are in the chat, on the chat, so you can copy these links.
yes. And then I will say that, and then the Center for Entrepreneurship. A lot of resources and a lot of opportunities for you to work cross-functionally as well, right? Because it takes more than just a business person to start a venture. You might need someone from an engineering background, or you might need someone from, like, the healthcare industry or something if your venture is focused on that. So there's also a lot of action-based or hands-on learning opportunities through competitions and programs where you can learn alongside these colleagues across U of M, as well as build new products together.
There are a couple of questions around the number of years of work experience required. I'm going to club them together. So is there a minimum number of years of work experience required? Raghu is asking. How do you look at applicants who have, let's say, about 2.5 years of work experience, or are on the lower end of, the work experience barometer? Also, Yashovardhan is saying that he is a veterinary science student and he's studying to be a vet and he wants to do an MBA in the healthcare sector. He doesn't really have, he's doing residency and he doesn't have proper work experience. And we get this a lot from medical students or, applicants who've studied medicine because they spend like years doing residency. Does that count as work experience, or do they need to finish all of that and go out there, work, and then, come back to apply for an MBA?
So I will say this. We do not have like a minimum or maximum work experience, I would say hard stop. But I will say most of our students come in with at least 3 years of full-time work experience. And so that means from the time you actually graduated your undergraduate, that first full-time work experience up to 3 years. So it's not any part-time work experience that you did in your undergrad. I will say we do have students that come in with 0 to 2 years of work experience. However, those students are U of M dual degree students. So they are already a medical student at U of M, and now they are pursuing a dual degree with Ross. They're already a law school student pursuing a dual degree. Other than that, everyone else, at least 3 years. That's what we see. And so for someone that is currently a medical student, not, or a veterinarian student that is not at the U of M, university, I would ask you why, right? Why is it that you need this MBA right after your veterinary degree? What are you trying to pivot? Like, that understanding of why MBA, why now is very, very important. So if you can make a case for why it is that this MBA will benefit you at this time in your career, even though you have no work experience, then that could be, you could be admitted. But it really depends on why now, and why Ross too.
Yeah. Why do you need an MBA at this point in time without having gone out there and worked? So that'll play a key role. Kabir Bajaj has a question. What are some of the ways students at Ross can gain experiential learning besides the MAP program? Are
Yeah,
there any specific clubs or organizations?
yeah. So I think this is going to be the last question I answer because I actually have another meeting at
Yeah.
10:30. So there are so many resources. Let me drop this link for you. Um, but let's say it really depends on what you're interested in, because we have action-based learning opportunities across so many functions and industries. I wouldn't be able to list all of them for you. So for example, if you're interested in investing and learning more about how to invest in startups, we have over 7 student-led investment funds, more than any school out there, where you are actually managing a fund, right? That's worth millions of dollars. And you are taking a look at these startup applications and then making a real-time decision on whether to invest in their startup idea or not. And then these are real companies, real products that you might end up seeing later on at, Whole Foods. I remember one of our students told me that it felt really great for her to go to Whole Foods one day and see the brand that they invested in on the shelves at Whole Foods. So many different opportunities. I highly suggest you take a look at our website. I mean, if you're interested in technology, there's a lot of hands-on learning opportunities there as well, business plus impact. The list goes on. So definitely do some research.
Right. I wanted to cover, scholarships and financial aid, but I don't think we have time now. Lisa, I just wanted to ask you if there is an email ID or a link where, prospective candidates there are a lot of unanswered questions where they can reach out to you and, ask you their questions.
Yes, feel free to reach out to Ross Admissions at umich.edu. They will be able to either help answer your question or they'll pass it on to our team, and then a member of our team will answer your question.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Lisa. This has been extremely insightful, and I'm sure it's going to help all the attendees when they apply to Ross, either in round 1, round 2, or in the near future. And thank you to all the participants for attending this session. Please feel free to reach out to Lisa at the email address given, and all the questions that were unanswered can be answered by her subsequently. Thank you again, Lisa, and good night.
All right. Thank you all. Good luck.